So this, we basically using this to digitize the transcription discs, and these are the original format that these things come in. And then later, in the late 40s and the 50s, you'll start seeing tape come in.
So that's helpful. That shows the size.
Yep.
Yeah, they're 16 inches.
This
so
is October 15th, 1949, this radio. And this would have, again, literally what it was burned on, to use the term. It was cut onto that record. And I was just saying, this was 15 minutes. So 2 turntables.
Yeah.
So you would have one turntable running, the other one ready to queue up. Because obviously you would have to match it up. So similar to with the, like a film where you have you see the little dots or whatever time you change the reel.
And Radio Recorders was an organization that actually did a lot of the transcriptions for the various networks at the time.
And you'll see like outside start, inside start sometimes too, right? So you would actually
play from the inside.
Some would play from the inside out.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, anybody who knows albums, record albums, is kind of an alien thing. Just doesn't seem like you would ever have something would turn that way.
So does that mean it would turn the different direction?
Yeah, backwards, basically.
Yeah, it would run from the inside, work its way back out.
And what was the technical reason behind that?
It was really just how it was cut at the time, and they just chose to do it that way because it was an instantaneous recording. It was basically a blank disc that they cut using a styli, and they just started at the other side to do it.
You know the story of the glass?
Mm-mm.
This would be an aluminum base, then with the vinyl over the top. Well, in their late 1941, there was this little thing on December 7th of 41, where we got caught up in this little fray. Basically all this stuff had to be salvaged for war effort. And one of the things that had to go away was the aluminum base, because it was being used for bombs and planes and any number of things. So during that era, they replaced the base with glass. Well, as you can imagine, it's fragile, and a lot of shows didn't survive because they didn't, they were dropped once, and that would be it.
And because they were on glass, they're very fragile. You could pick them up, they snap. Literally they shatter. Then they get transported. So a lot of the war shows that were done on glass were lost just for that reason.
Right.
Same thing here is a record cleaning machine that we use to get some of the dirt off.
How does this work?
It's basically there's a solution well. It's electric. It applies a solution and it vacuums it off. There's a vacuum inside.
So which way does the record go in?
The record goes here. So if you took basically. Under this lip here, would turn on, the liquid would be applied under it, and then it would vacuum it off. There would be special cleaning solutions to do various functions.
Because I actually still have some stuff on reel-to-reel from radio. There's a Jack Benny and there's a cut sheet. 1949. So Jack and violin lesson with Claude Rains. Jack and Mary go to the races with the Colemans.
We actually bake tapes because a lot of the open reel, the 1/4-inch tapes fail over time because of the binders in them, and they stick together and shed. So we have to actually bake them to get a good pass on the machine. So we give them 3 hours at 135 degrees and flip them occasionally. That usually does the trick. first 10 shows from the Edgar Bergen Hour, about half of them aren't available, so these will come out in the fall. And a lot of the 53, 54 shows, which also aren't available, they sound beautiful.
This was the Mutual Radio Theater, which ran in the late 70s, early 80s. You may have come across it in your life. It was 5 nights a week, and each night was a different theme, a different genre, and a different host.
A digital audio tape was the next, best thing since sliced bread, and so it's a digital format, but it is a tape. In these cabinets, there's a good 40,000 shows recorded this way, and it was a good format. There is a problem with tape failure, so you have to be concerned about getting a good transfer out of it. But ultimately, it went away as CD came in other digital formats that didn't require tape.
These are old products. That's like a Life of Riley box set, and we're just taking and ripping them off the CDs and making them into WAV files, basically, so we can use them for anything else.
But when did you first get into this stuff?
Well, on the business side, I was with the company that bought Radio Spirits in 1998 at
Right.
the time, and then when they bought Radio Yesteryear, Radio Spirits, and Adventures in Cassettes, and a year prior they bought Charles Michelson out. So that's when I got involved in the business side. But in the early 70s, I actually listened to CBS Radio Mystery Theater and was interested in that whole nostalgia kind of boom. So I heard the record LP albums at the time. So I had some foreknowledge going into it. And I was, when I landed at the company, it was a little surprising. I came in. They also did audiobooks, and I came in that side. And they, after I arrived, they bought the radio companies, which I had some awareness of. And then I've been involved on some level ever since.
So is there any series, any episodes, any stars, any show that you've sort of been looking for that you've never been able to put your hands on?
The Holy Grail?
There's a lot of material that, there's long runs of The Shadow, and there's I Love a Mystery, and the classic missing shows, and just a lot of times for me it's a case of, when you work with these shows, they sound so bad, and you just wish you could get not necessarily a lost recording, but one that sounds good. So like the Jack Benny shows, which are a great series, but they're universally, on average, some are better than others, but you wish they could be a lot better sounding than they are. So that's a lot of what we try to do, and that's why we buy some. We constantly, when we're approached and we have the opportunity to buy more reels like this, where it's just a massive amount of work. It's always worth it if you can basically upgrade the gene pool of the shows that you have.
Is there a level that you just can't fix?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. And it's
there's a lot of toys now. There's a lot of digital toys, a lot of restoration toys in order to take out pops and hiss and all kinds of things.
Yeah, the real thing that you have to worry about is just flattening the sound, and that's something that happens more often than not. When you try to get something up for broadcast standard, where a more modern audience doesn't want to hear pops and clicks, you lose some of the life or the fidelity of the recording, and that's something that you don't want to do. On the other hand, people won't accept a lot of crackle and hiss and noise. Because it's unlike anything they hear now. It's not modern enough, so it's always that fine line. And a lot of times we go a little harder than we might in normal circumstances, but that's just the nature of the audience changing and being less accepting of noise. We also, regardless of what we do, it's always better than these MP3s that are traded freely and that type of thing, where they're compressed highly. Right. They're off speed, and there's lots of things wrong with them. Where that what we do is typically much better than that. So that's something where we have a leg up on people.